Hi, Adam Small here with the Agent Sauce Real Estate Marketing Podcast, and with me today is Doug Carr of DK New Media.
This is getting to be a routine, huh?
I'm just saying, it was supposed to be the Agent Sauce Podcast, but now it's like the Adam and Doug Real Estate Marketing Podcast, So anyhow, we're about a month or so into the new year here, and one of the things that I see a lot of agents really emphasizing now is kind of how to grow their business and get really good results from this year, and grow it quite a bit. And they're asking about growing their email list. How do they, increase the number of subscribers that they have to their email list and that sort of thing. So I thought it'd be a great topic just to talk about different techniques and methods, both online and offline, of how to grow your email list.
I like this topic.
I do too. I thought it was a good one. We've been asked about it quite a bit lately, and it's something that's really kind of evergreen, and that it always applies, and that it's really cross industry too, because you can use any technique from for any industry to grow your email list, just about any, I should say. So, what's the number one thing you do on the Marketing Tech blog?
I would say our most active way of acquiring subscribers is that we do have like a pop-up. And I'll explain a couple of things. So the pop-up is basically after a couple seconds that a new visitor comes on the site, it'll tell them, hey, don't miss additional news. We tell them what value that they're going to bring, please subscribe. And they can close out that if they want to. And then we have another pop-up that is exit intent, it's called. It's basically as someone starts to drag their mouse up and go over to the address bar, which is basically where when you're gonna click back or you're gonna go Google something.
So it looks like you're going somewhere else. Yeah. You're exiting the site.
Yeah, and when that happens, we do a pop up as well and say, hey, and just one more reminder. So I'd say that's where we get the most subscribers to our site, and I like that method just because it's one. You're putting it front and center to people that, hey, I do have a newsletter, I do have an email list, and you're making it easy for them to opt out of it. A lot of people hate pop-ups, but they're getting used to it, and then the exit intent one I really like, because if they're leaving anyways, you might as well ask them if they'd like to subscribe.
No harm in asking, right? As long as you make it easy for them to close it out. I've been on sites where something I find particularly offensive is where I can't do anything other than what they want me to do. And
locking them down.
I'm just not going to do that. I actually have closed out my whole browser. In order to avoid doing that myself. So I think you're right. The exit intent is always a great thing, as long as you provide a methodology for them to just ignore it and move on with their whatever they're trying to do. Right. And
I'll say, like on our blog, we get a few thousand visitors a day. We'll probably get 3 to 5 people that subscribe a day. So that's a nice. Well, it's 150
or so, 250 email addresses a month, right? Something along those lines, right?
Now we make sure that we put out good emails too, though, so that we don't lose them.
Oh, well, that's a whole different story.
But it really is, a lot of people pay so much attention to just getting the list that they don't actually manage the list and put out good emails, right?
Continue to put out quality product, whether it be an email or your service that you're providing is essential in order to retain the customer base. In this case, the subscriber list, right?
Yep.
So exit intent, and then you said after a few seconds of on-site, the system will pop out.
It's a first visit pop-up.
Okay,
the software that's out there that lets you do this, a lot of them have these. Basically, you write a bunch of rules, and it'll be like, if it's a first visitor, if they close it, don't show it to them for another, let's say 30 days. Or if they're on their 5th page on the site, you might pop it up, and they let you test and do different things with them. And so they're pretty nice, the call to actions and convert conversion plugins.
Right. So there are a lot of options there insofar as being able to target and not offensively target. So every time they come to the site, it pops up,
which
and
is
you're like, okay.
Which is why you go buy one of these. You could either buy a service or you could go buy a plugin or whatever. Is you don't want to something like this unless you're someone like Adam.
No,
you don't want to program this yourself.
No, I don't want to program that stuff.
You don't want it where every time someone opens a page, it goes bing, bing, bing.
Right. It gets annoying, and people are like, okay, I'm just not going back because it's a matter of fatigue, right?
Yep.
That's interesting. So exit intent and then new visitor. So those are great things. Something that we do, right, is what you might call a valuable free offer, right?
Oh, nice.
We put a little sign up form on the side of the site, and it says something along the lines of, hey, download our white paper, our PDF, that sort of thing, or even a 5-week email marketing course, right?
Yeah.
And, they put their email address and their name in there, and then, they're either sent a link to download or, over the course of the next couple of weeks, they get tips on
and that's definitely
email marketing.
I'd say that's like our number 2. Our number 2 is offers out there. So where we trade email for something of value,
right? And it's an interesting thing to define something of value. It doesn't have to be an iPad,
right,
or a free gift or item or something like that. It can literally be your knowledge.
Well, like real estate agents, it could be wall colors to avoid
when trying to sell, right?
Stuff like that.
I mean, you're right. So, tips to get your house ready for selling, or hey, prepare yourself as a buyer. Are you pre-qualified? What are the interest rates right now? That sort of thing. So, knowledge is just as much a value as an actual concrete item. Is one of the things I would say.
A third one I'll tell you that I think a lot of people miss is we actually have a subscribe page on our site.
Right.
So we have a page that basically says why you should subscribe, how often we send the email, what kind of information is going to be in it. And we use that page on our calls to action for like Facebook, Twitter. Like Facebook, you can actually put a button on your business page. And so we'll have a subscribe button on our business page, and we can have people go straight to our subscribe page. And so I'd really recommend people put a subscribe page on their site.
So a dedicated subscribe page.
Yeah. Even if they have a form on every single page to subscribe, I would still have an independent subscribe page, because you can send that to people. You can put it in your email footer. You can, you can put it on.
You can use it as a landing page.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what you're doing.
That's essentially what it is. Like you said, from the Facebook ads or your Facebook page, or Twitter links, that sort of thing too, right? So it's an opportunity to bring in other mediums into your site and then collect the data there, right?
Yep.
So because really you want to drive everything back to your site, so
you
that you own it.
really do want to do that. Everybody should be learning lessons over the last 10 years of Facebook changing the rules and Google changing the rules and everybody changing the rules. If you're just speaking to people on Facebook, you don't have access to those people unless Facebook gives you access. So having their email is the way that, it's like having a phone number or an email address. Now you don't have to have someone in between you guys.
A middleman, right? Somebody that's brokering, moderating what you're
trying to make money off of it.
Exactly, how you're reaching that audience, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. What about offline? What do you do in the way of offline stuff? On the top of my head, I know a lot of real estate agents, when they're holding open houses, will have a sign-in sheet and ask for an email address there, and that's always a good way. And there are automated ways of doing that, where instead of a sheet that you physically sign, it's a iPad or something like that, where they collect the data on the form. In the end, it's the same thing.
I'm aggressive that way. I almost every single person I meet that gives me a business card, I add them to our email list, and it's a single opt-in. I don't do a double opt-in. For people listening, that's where I would add their email list, and then they would get an email to confirm that that they want it. I do single opt-in, and it's I was talking to someone the other day, and double opt-in is one of these things that email services love them, right?
Because it keeps their email list really clean, because it weeds out a lot of people that are just like, I'm not bothering.
But the problem is like, hey, Adam, nice to meet you. And you give me your contact information, so I'm going to contact you. I don't come back and say, oh, well, thanks for your business card. Do you mind if I contact you? The reason why you gave me the business card was to contact you.
Yeah, exactly. So you could reach me.
Yeah, so I'm pretty aggressive on that. I had one person complain, and we have 60,000 on our list.
Right.
And that one person was a deliverability guy at an email company.
Well, I guess that would kind of explain that, right? So yeah. Okay.
But I'm really aggressive on that front. I want, look, it's opt out. They can unsubscribe whenever they want.
So you absolutely include the opt out mechanisms, right?
But my thinking is, as soon as they get that first email, they're going to see something of value, and they're going to go, wow, this is a pretty good email. I'm going to hang on to it.
Right.
And they're going to stay. And so that's what I'm hoping for. That's why I make sure my email is good, because I will say I get added to a lot of lists, and I get that first email, and it's a disaster, and I unsubscribe immediately.
Right, absolutely. So that's interesting. So that's one method. What about like using social media, to collect email addresses? And what I mean by that is, I was just at a conference last week, and one of the vendors in there that was doing a presentation talked about how they could draw email addresses out of Facebook.
Oh, interesting.
So all your fans and that sort of thing. And they were making a really big deal out of being able to do that. Like they're the only person in the world that could do that. Is that a good venue for pulling email addresses? Facebook, LinkedIn, that sort of thing?
So everything that we've talked to up till now, we had contact with the person. Right. Either they visited our website, or we visited them and they gave us a business card, or they visit our social page or whatever. When we start to get to the point where we haven't actually met the person, and that would be this, or buying a list, or or whatever.
We'll touch on buying lists in just a minute.
Yeah, but that's honestly where you start running into quality problems, and then even making people upset. That even email, where we get spammed all day, and we're starting to build up an immunity to it, if you will.
Right.
But it's still an intrusion, and so when I get an intrusion from a stranger, it's more of an intrusion than when I get an intrusion from someone I met.
Right. Well, it's definitely like, well, who is this person? Where do they come from? Why are they contacting me? As opposed to, oh, I remember Doug. So let's see what he's got to say. Maybe. Right.
The other problem that you can run into, whether you're dealing with business people or you're dealing with consumers, is a lot of times people have multiple email addresses as well. And so they use one for their Facebook, or they use one for their LinkedIn, or their LinkedIn one might be their business address. So if you download their LinkedIn data and import it, now you're irritating them because you're bothering them at work, or vice versa. So you don't know which what the right way to contact them is, so you run into that problem as well. The other one is just turnover on email, right?
Right. Something like every 6 months an email address, only lasts about 6 months, and it's hard for a lot of people in business world to fathom that an email address can go bad in 6 months. I think that's the last stat that I read. But, you sit at your job and you work there, so it's hard for you to recognize that. But you got all your free services, Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, and those are the ones where they go bad so often. And in large part because people,
even
Doug said,
even business turnover, I think, is 30% year over year.
Right. But people will sign up for the free ones just to have a junk email address that they can put in there and not pay any attention to, and they never log in. So after about 6 months or so, Yahoo, AOL, whoever it is, kills the email address. And you're trying to send to it, and it starts bouncing because they just don't care. They're not.
And once it starts bouncing, now you're talking other problems that you're going to run into trying to send email to your good people that do want the email.
Right, because you're creating problems with bounces, your reputation's going down, that sort of thing. So
I think the other part there is that when these guys talk about that they have these Facebook email addresses, look, Facebook does not give those up. Mm-hmm. So they are getting them some other way that's a little bit scary. And it might be, I'll give you a perfect example, is they might have some kind of viral stupid contest that you that you get invited to on Facebook all the time.
Right.
And people don't even realize it, but when they hit the privacy button, it asks them, will you let them get your email address? And that's the way these guys are getting those. Man, that is nasty, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's the other part of this is I can tell you that they are definitely violating Facebook's terms of service if they're going out and reselling those email addresses. And so it's just a shady way it's not that it's illegal, but it's a shady business.
Right.
know?
So interesting. So speaking of shady business practices there regarding emails, what about buying a list? You touched on that earlier. Let's wrap this up with your thoughts on buying a list and how well that works for you.
We've had mixed results with it. I'll tell you where we've seen good benefits. A highly targeted list. So it might be a job position of some sort, really tight geography, 10 miles around Indianapolis or something like that. Demographic, like you're picking like multiple, variables for their demographics and everything else. And you get that list. Now, here's what I'll say right off the bat is you're going to get angry people if you email that list. They're going to be upset that how did you get my contact information?
Right.
The second part of it is that you're going to get a lot of bad email addresses. So you should run them through their services. Like there's one that we use called Never Bounce, and you can run them through and they'll try to get all the bad email addresses out, first. The ones that are left over, can you create a relationship with those or not? Personally, when I think about if I had a real estate agent that just spammed me out of the blue because they got my information somewhere, I might resent that a little bit. I might not welcome that opportunity.
Right.
So
right.
So people know, Adam's the real estate guy. I'm just a marketing tech guy. When I see some companies and use it and it works very well because they have some kind of tool and they're trying to get that tool out to a very specific,
narrow
job
group.
title, and because the tool is so cool, people actually do like, hearing it,
Right.
But in this case where it's really a relationship building.
So by and large, not a good idea. It's really
not
what
if
you're
you're
kind of
not
getting
if,
at, right?
Well, real estate is really a relationship industry.
Exactly.
It's all about trust. And so if the first meeting is that you
bought their email address and spammed them,
then the trust, I don't know that the trust is there.
It's not going to help you
Yeah.
establish that trust
Yeah.
factor. I would agree.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say regarding buying email lists, being on the technical side of it, watching and having seen a few people go through and upload obviously bought lists to our system.
Yeah.
The bounce rate is incredible. The spam reporting rate is even higher.
Yeah.
And the reputation, it just hurts it all around. And that's one of the reasons why we always do the first couple of sends for a new agent, a new customer of ours, through some servers that are much wider spread so that it doesn't impact everybody and hurt our good sending servers, because we've just really never see it be much of a success from a real estate perspective. It always hurts the deliverability.
I would here's a bonus tip for your audience.
Okay.
That if they're tempted at going and getting a list, here's the way I would do it. I would look for a partner rather than a list broker.
So perhaps working with a mortgage company or a title services company,
Exactly.
something along those lines that has hopefully an established relationship with with
because
those
then
subscribers.
your first email could literally be,
Reference
hey,
them.
we're working with this mortgage company and I wanted to welcome and introduce you. I'd like you to sign up for our newsletter or whatever, and I'm
Right.
just throwing that off the
Right.
cuff. But
Right.
that is actually a really good way of because if you have the trust of the mortgage company already,
Right.
now if the mortgage company is recommending a real estate agent,
Right.
there's a transfer of trust there that people might believe. You know?
Right. So you're basically leveraging the trust in the other organization to gain the acceptance of the subscriber, right? Not a bad idea at all. The one thing I would say in regards to that is make sure that if you do something along those lines with a mortgage or a title company, that sort of thing, that you stay with. What's that?
Permission,
well,
regulations.
Permission, stay within the regulations and such. I know that there's definitely regulations regarding marketing, co-marketing, that sort of thing. So make sure you stay there. Stay good there.
This is when we say all of the advice given here on the
It's
Agent
not
Sauce
legal
podcast.
advice.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Please contact your attorney.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, hey, Doug, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, want to learn more about Agent Sauce, feel free to contact us at agentsauce.com, or you can call us at 877-230-0023 or text SAUCE to 71813.